Quick moment before we start. This show is powered by listeners like you who join our Patreon. When you become a supporter, you get early, ad-free episodes, bonus content, and a 5 random question sticker. Because everybody loves stickers. But most importantly, you help keep the show alive and independent. If that sounds good, join us at patreon.com/5RQ. Links in the show notes. And thank you. And now, let's get into today's questions.
I think we should all do that kind of thing, is be a little more positive. And if you want to extend it, you could be more positive to your friends too. So when you hear them say that in whatever environment, whether it's online or in person, just stop them and say, hey, you know what you just said is not true. You're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. And just begin to have that conversation, because people don't notice when they say these things.
Hi, and welcome to 5 Random Questions, the show with unexpected questions and unfiltered answers. I'm your host, Deb Brown, and each week I'll be asking my guests 5 questions created by a random question generator. The guest has no idea what the questions are, and neither do I, which means this could go either way. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into this week's episode. Today's guest is Deb Brown. Deb is a dynamic, small-town advocate and community development expert with extensive experience empowering rural communities. Deb is also the author of From Possibilities to Reality, Save Your Small Town with These Uniquely Doable Ideas, Projects and Success Stories, a comprehensive workout filled with practical strategies and real-world examples for small-town revitalization. So Deb, Cuz, welcome to 5 Random Questions.
Thank you, and I'm so happy to be here.
I'm super happy to have you here. And I mentioned Cuz there, obviously we're not related, but we have this on, we've known each other for years now. We've got this sort of ongoing, which I think you initiated actually.
Probably.
We've got the same initials, same last name obviously. So there's a lot of overarching connection there, I feel. And Cuz is just like, it seems funny to say Cuz to a guest on the podcast.
And she's not really your cousin, but that's okay. You feel like a cousin, you know, we're in touch with each other, follow what each other's doing, you know, like cousins would do. We just don't get together very often in person.
Exactly, which we should try and remedy in 2026.
Good idea.
And as I mentioned in your bio there in the introduction, obviously you're a huge advocate for small towns. And as someone who moved back in 2019 from a very large city to a small, like rural village in Ontario, Canada, I know myself the difference of mindset that we had to adopt as family. So for you, because obviously you're very passionate about small towns, what is it, and this isn't part of your random questions, I'm just really curious, what is it about small towns in particular that makes you so passionate?
Well, I was born and raised on a farm in Iowa, and I'm just a rural advocate because I live there and I do the kind of work that involves making our rural towns more powerful. It's so great to know your neighbors, to be able to do things together. There's good and bad to that, of course, but you got to look for the good, right? And most small towns are close enough to a larger city that you can still experience those huge symphonies and those great art things. There's benefits to both, right? But I'm going to tell you to live in a small town because you are a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And you have the opportunity to be more involved and to make a difference in the community that you live in, much more than you do in a big city.
I know when we first moved here, and like I say, it took us, we'd always lived in a big city. My wife and I lived in Toronto for a bit, and then a city just a little bit smaller than Toronto when the kids came along until they got a little bit older, which, you know, made us want to move to a quieter place. Mm-hmm. And when we first moved up here, it was in the winter, so it was like completely unexpected for us, really cold. But one of the neighbours on Christmas Eve went round the whole village handing out a homemade potty jam, which I thought was amazing. And she does that every year now. You know, we expect to see Sharon now. She'll come out, and Sharon's amazing. She's like so community minded as well. If someone's got an accident, she'll take care of the yard or mow, you know, below the snow, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it feels like there's and like you say, there's good and bad, but it feels like you have to look out for each other in a small town because you can be cut off, I guess, at times.
Yeah, you do. And you know, you have children, and the opportunities for them to be more involved in their activities at school, but also in the community, are greater. And it's safer. Generally, small towns are safer than your bigger cities. So you don't feel so bad telling the kids, yeah, go ahead and play with the neighbor across the street and worry about them being kidnapped, right? Those things matter.
Yeah, and I agree. That's one of the reasons we moved was, the city we lived in felt safe, but we knew that having two young kids, we appreciate where we are now, and they appreciate it now. They didn't at first; they hated it because they were taken away from their school friends and everything. But they're super glad where we live now to be like that because of that very reason. And speaking of very reasons, there's a very specific reason that you're on the show today, and that's to answer 5 random questions. So, Deb, are you ready for the random question generator to be brought up on screen?
I am. I sure hope so. Yeah.
Alrighty, let's have a look and bring it up for us. Okay, here we go then, Deb. Question number 1. If you're in a circus, what would your job be?
Oh, I'd be in charge of marketing.
In charge of marketing?
Yep,
Okay.
I'd be in charge of marketing because I'm not going to play with lions or climb high ropes or swing from something. But I'm really pretty good at doing advance notice for small towns along the way. Circuses travel usually, and people want to go, but they have to know about it. And the old way of doing it, of course, is newspapers and press releases, that kind of thing. But there's so much more opportunity by using online tools to let people know about the things that you're doing and how they can participate. So yeah, I'd be in charge of marketing.
And one of the things, we don't really see circuses where we live. Like I say, we're really rural, so it's probably too much effort to try to bring that amount of equipment, etc., to us. There's towns nearby that have fairs, but I don't think I've seen circus. Do you think circuses are still like a valid entertainment, if that's the right word, entertainment thing? With obviously there's the pushback about treatment of animals, and how it's not quite, for whatever reason, not quite the thing it used to be maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago, I guess.
So the Cirque du Soleil has made a huge difference on how people look at circuses. It's more acrobatics than it is animals, yet they're still animals. Barnum and Bailey are, I think, in Florida. They travel from the Midwest down to Florida till winter. And I remember going to see them from my little small town. The folks took us to see them along the way, the trains going through. I don't know if they still do that or not. But the Masons and the different organizations will often sponsor a small circus to help raise money for kids. So for that, yeah, I think they're valuable, and it is great entertainment. It's, always money, right? How can they pay for it? So that's the question to resolve.
Yeah, and I think maybe, I don't know, I was probably a teen, I believe. I don't think our kids have ever been to a circus. That's how, unusual it is, I guess. When the question popped up there, I was thinking, oh, circuses, that's cool. It's unusual because I don't think our kids, our son's 15, our daughter's 13, and I don't think they've been to a circus. They've been to a zoo, and they've been to like wildlife resorts, but not a circus. And I don't know if that's because of where we live, or it's one of these things, like you say, it's changed so much now that what you might have thought of circuses back in the day isn't quite what would be expected today, right?
And I don't know enough about how circuses are viewed in Canada. So now you've given me something to think about and go check out as well. I would imagine they still have them. Get your kids to a circus. Absolutely, if you can get close to one, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's it. I mean, like I said, I went to one when I was younger, much younger than I am now, a long time ago. And I did. I really enjoyed it. It was amazing. It was like the sights, the sounds, the noises, going up to the animals afterwards, meeting the people. It was just really, it was amazing. So yeah, it'd be great. I know like our kids, my daughter especially, is so into animals and adventures and nature. I think she'd love it. My son's a bit more techie and sports oriented, so he might enjoy it less, but I think my daughter would if we could find one, like you say. And you mentioned obviously because of you wouldn't want to face down a lion or a tiger, you wouldn't want to ride elephants or anything. Would you want to be maybe the person that shoots someone out the cannon?
No.
You still don't trust yourself to do that either?
No. I'm opposed to using any kind of firearm personally. What people make their own decisions about hunting or legal things is, that's on them. It's just not something I would want to do.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. I mean, I know I'd like to, there's some choice people I'd like to fire out a cannon, but I hear you on that. So I feel that's a nice, easy way to ease into the 5 questions today, Deb. So let's have a look and see what comes up for question number 2. Question 2. Yeah, let's go with this one, Deb. Question 2. Do you ever talk to yourself? And as a sort of bonus question to this, what do you say?
All the time. Of course I do. I recently injured my arm by falling on it. So now when I take the dog out for a walk, the first thing I say is, pick up your feet, Deb, pick up your feet, Deb. So I can remember to pick them up. And I do have a little Chihuahua, Shirley. You may or may not hear her later. I now just talk to her, but I'm really talking to myself. We process so much negative talk to ourselves without even thinking about it. So I believe it's important to listen to the things that you do say to yourself and stop that negativity, and just say, hey, no, you're okay. Like some women will look in the mirror and go, gosh, I'm fat. That's not good. Look in the mirror and say, I'm looking pretty good today, right? It does something to your brain when you focus on the positive, and it's good for your health as well. So, yeah, keep talking to yourself. I bet you do too.
Oh, yeah, lots, because no one will speak to me otherwise.
Maybe we are related. No, just kidding.
No, well, because of where we are, I work 100% remote. My wife does as well. The kids are at school, etc. So I think when I speak to myself, it's more about confirming that I've done something right. So if I'm doing something for work or whatever, or I've made a decision that affects the kids and their opportunities to go to college down the years, or whatever that might look like. I think it's more about validation that I did the right thing.
Excellent.
But it's an interesting point you raised about the positivity aspect, because it's easy, like online especially, it's easy to get sucked into toxic and negativity, traits and arguments and all that stuff. And that can take obviously an impact on us as people. And if no one's telling you positive things, it can take you down a dark path. And I think it's like you say, it's important. But do you feel it's because we're so used to negativity and people saying you must have something wrong with you if you're talking to yourself? Do you think that puts us off being more open to personal inner dialogue?
Well, I think age has something to do with it. When I was in my 20s, you didn't talk to yourself because people thought you were crazy. And then the advent of the cell phone, when we first started seeing people walking down the street talking to themselves because they had earbuds in, right? Everybody's like, well, who's he talking to? What? And that took a minute to get used to. So we're familiar with having conversations with with other people, but it turns into conversations with yourself, right? Facebook is notorious for having spammers or whatever. They want to stir the pot and talk about politics, for example. So I'll read a post and then I go right by it and I tell myself, look at that. You went right by it and you didn't respond to it. Good for you, Deb. Because I'd like to respond, but it doesn't do me any good. So just giving myself a pat on the back helps me more than it helps anybody. But I think we should all do that kind of thing, is be a little more positive. And if you want to extend it, you could be more positive to your friends too. So when you hear them say that in whatever environment, whether it's online or in person, just stop them and say, hey, you know what you just said is not true. You're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. And just begin to have that conversation, because people don't notice when they say these things.
It's really true. I watched, there's a really good snippet, and I'll try find it, the link to it, like a YouTube video. It's just like a short one, and I'll drop it in the show notes, so listeners can check it out. There's a basketball player, Nate Riggs, maybe, I think. I don't know basketball. His first name's Nate. But anyway, so seemingly this basketball player has a lot of people that don't like him for whatever reason. So he was getting interviewed after a game, and a female reporter asked him about the game, but the way she approached it was she was paying him compliments about what he was doing and how he was doing it, which was, you could tell he wasn't used to hearing that because he sat up and his immediate attention was on the lady reporter. And it's like you say, it's just, I feel we get so much negativity thrown at us by the by. When someone takes the time, like you just mentioned, Deb, about saying it to your friends or even a professional athlete who you're talking to, when you put kindness and positivity the other way, it does make them stop and take notice. And I feel that has been lost a little bit because of, we know negative news stories get all the clicks online, for example.
Yeah, and people like you and me that do work from home and we're alone often, right? It's very easy to get lost in that avenue of negativity and not taking care of yourself, learning positive thinking and putting index cards around the house with something positive on it. Why not? Because that's personal health. You want to take care of your own health first. And we're not very good at that either.
Yeah, no, I know we used to put little post-it notes in the kids' lunch boxes. So they go to school and get just like a little message, like you say. And we stopped that when he got a bit older because they asked us to stop it. But I feel that's, just something like that, right? It's just, it can make a big difference with like it took us 10 seconds to write a little message and stick it in a lunchbox.
Put it on their mirror in the bathroom that they see when they wake up. Yeah. Don't stop it. Stop. They're embarrassed at school, I bet, right? Oh, God, my dad put another note in my lunchbox. Oh, Lord. But in the bathroom at home, it's a safe space.
That's true. That is true. And my daughter does love the bathroom. She's like a competitive cheer athlete, so she's in there a lot doing her makeup and hair and getting ready for competitions, etc. So, yeah, I think I'll do that. And I do like the mindset of putting personal post-it notes as well, Deb, just for yourself, because it's easy for us to get sucked into not feeling good about ourselves. And just a reminder, hey, you know what? You got up today and you made someone smile. Something like that, I guess.
Yeah, those little tiny steps, I talk about small steps all the time in my work, but they're very important for ourselves, but the people we share them with too. It takes you nothing to make a comment or say, hey, you're looking great today. I have been known, if I see a woman with great shoes, I'll say, man, I like your shoes. Where'd you get them? Those kind of things. I do it to strangers because I like her shoes and I want to know where she got them. Not afraid to talk to anybody about anything, but it creates a moment of relationship with someone that sends them off towards a better day. And it gives me an answer I wanted. Win-win.
100%. There's a real good YouTube channel. I'll try find the link to that as well. And I'll send you, you'd really enjoy it, Deb, where people just drive by and they just shout out random compliments to strangers, like say, hey, do you mind not being so handsome, leave some for the rest of us, and all that kind of stuff. It's just really nice. It's a really sweet,
I would love to see that. Yes, please.
Yeah, so I will try to find that channel. I'll definitely send it over to you. And I think, yeah, that's a really nice, important message for question 2. So I appreciate that, Deb. Thank you.
I love your random generator.
Well, speaking of random generator, let's have a look at question number 3. And I'm curious about this one, knowing you as I do for the last few years. If you were asked to teach a class, question number 3, what class would you teach?
Okay, so work related, I would teach how to fill empty buildings. It's something I'm asked about often. I've done a TEDx on it. I work with entrepreneurs, and one of the things that they're great at is we want to get them out of their basements and garages into a small booth where they can test and try their idea out. And if you follow it, when you start small, that's an opportunity. So say I'm doing woodworking, I'm making cool things. I am not going to go from my basement directly to an empty building. I'm just not. Because that's $100,000 for the building and another $100 to fix it up. And it's insane the amount of money that you need to start a business in a brick and mortar building. And you haven't even built your market. You don't know if you have a product that people want. So taking small steps along the way is all that part of how to fill an empty building. And small towns are great at this because they have a lot of events and fairs and festivals where vendors can set up and sell their wares and try things out. So that's another small step. And then if you've found, hey, this is really working and people like my product, maybe you can go into a building with 3 or 4 other people and have a shared building opportunity. So there's a small town, Washington, Iowa. It was an old J.C. Penney's department store, and it's filled with all different kinds of vendors. And they have small tables. One woman makes jewelry, and she only has a small table. That's her spot. There's a bookstore at the back, whole wall for books for kids. And it looks like just a store when you walk in with all this cool stuff, right? But it's a group of people that are trying out their ideas and seeing what works and being able to grow. And many of those people have gone on then to get their own building and create their own larger building. Can you tell I get excited about filling empty buildings, right? And it works in cities too. It's not just small towns. That's something that works everywhere. So I'd be happy to teach that kind of thing. And I have learned that sharing stories and talking about what other communities have done is a much more valuable teaching opportunity than just lecturing and saying, if you do this, then you got to do that, then you got to do that. And you have no examples. You have no proof it's real. Where if you're sharing a story and pictures and making it interesting to listen to, now you've got a class that people want to take and want to do something when they get out on their own.
Well, it's interesting as well. You mentioned that it can be done in cities. I mean, obviously, small towns are a perfect environment because supportive, like people know each other, and want to help each other succeed. And when I think of, say, similar examples in a city, I might think of like co-working experiences, like office sharing opportunities like that. But when you mention, almost like a crafts fair, almost, but different businesses coming together, different small businesses coming together in an empty building, but now creating almost like a mall, like a mini mall. Do you feel it's like, obviously you're a bit biased because you're such a small, you're such a passionate advocate for small towns, but do you feel that small towns have more options to do what you're mentioning about coming together, as opposed to larger cities where it's more expensive, maybe people are less willing to take risks, etc.?
So I lived in Chicago about 25 years, so I'm very familiar with living in large cities. And our circle of influence, which is the number of people that will come to your funeral, is usually between 100 and 150 people. So think of those 100 people, how many are friends? And it might be only 20 that you can count as friends, not close friends, but friends. What if you brought all those people together and say, hey, I know about this empty building. What could we do that? What kind of businesses could all of us participate in? You're able to do that in a big city too, because you have that many contacts and people So don't let the idea of big cities being cold, at least in Chicago. Chicago's a group of neighborhoods. It's really a bunch of small towns all connected. So depending on which area you live in, that's something you could easily do. I know the Korean people that I remember in Chicago, they sponsor each other to come over and start their own businesses. So they often have 2 or 3 people in a building learning how to run a business, from people that have already come over here. And then when it's their turn, they contribute to bring somebody else back over. So they used to do that. I was just at Ellis Island. My grandparents came through in 1922. And it was, wow, what an experience, Ellis Island in New York City. I got to stand where they stood when they got off that boat. And I got to see the ship manifest and their names and had this really cool feeling. And they were sponsored by a cousin out in Iowa. So a lot of the immigrants that came through, at least from Germany, had that same experience. Somebody sponsored them to come. You can do that kind of thing with a business too, if you really think about it. And then make sure that business is an experience. It's not just a room full of things for sale. Make sure people have fun and can explore and try products and And my friend sells furniture for a living. He's got his own design business and furniture store. But he also, every Christmas time, teaches people how to make Christmas wreaths. And he does that class twice a year, and his class is always full. He does it in his store because he sells Christmas products. And for $45, you get a wreath and you get a few products. And if you want to buy more products from him, you can. Or if you want to bring yours from home, you can do that too. That's an experience that store owners can do more of. Boy, I just really went on a tangent, didn't I?
No, and this is what I love about this show. It's like it does go in different tangents because of the questions that can arise that are generally not even attached to each other. So no, not at all. But it did make me think, and you kind of answered it there as well about having the experience in these empty buildings that are now not empty. As a quick little bonus follow-up to that question, let's say you can put 4 small businesses or 4 local businesses into an empty building that really complement the whole experience to anybody that's visiting that building now. What 4, it doesn't have to be names, just the kind of businesses, I guess. What 4 would you choose maybe to really offer something cool?
So tell me the name of the size of the town we're working in. In our imaginary town.
All right, let's go with my little village, 800 families. So what's that, 3,000 people on average, maybe?
Okay, so 800 families. And how many other businesses do you have downtown? Do you have a downtown?
Yeah, we don't really have a downtown. We've got a small little mini mart. We've got a little grocery store, like a local store, and then a little tiny little restaurant, and that's it.
Okay. Do you have an empty building?
We have the community hall, which is kind of...
That's perfect. That's perfect. So we're in the holiday season right now, and you wouldn't start it right now. You'd start it for next year, right? So what's coming up? Valentine's Day. So let's use the community hall from the middle of January to the middle of February, every Friday and Saturday, to give people to try out their ideas with product that is related to Valentine's Day. So you might want a hairdresser that also does nails and pedicures. You may wish to have, clothing. Someone that's making really cool clothing, either for men or women. Gift cards. That's another great one. Maybe an artist can be in there and one of their products is gift cards. And they might be able to teach you how to make your own gift card. That's a little workshop they can do. And jewelry is always a big winner. Now, if you can find someone that's making jewelry, that's cool. Because they're making your own jewelry, right? And it's a one-of-a-kind thing. It's not mass-produced, and it's not coming from China. It's coming from one of your neighbors that's doing cool things. Now, in your town, 800 people, there might be a high school student or 2 that have some ideas of what could go in there as well. And I would definitely talk to them and see how they'd want to be involved.
I think you've just given me some plans for the local, the community centre. No, that's awesome. And I like the way that as you mentioned, it's all interconnected. And you're getting the people involved as well. You're getting like the customers, if you like, involved. Because now you could have the person that makes the jewellery. Here's how you can make your own jewellery. And now you've got this like very custom design that's unique to you because you put your own little stamp on it. So I like that. I like that a lot. And so we I guess the idea would be to then continue to build on that. So if you're thinking seasonal, for example, you could look, what do you do in the summer? Well, there's a lake here, so people go jet skiing, they go kayaking, they go surfboard and stuff like that. So I guess you can build a whole bunch of stuff around that as well to, for once the tourists and the cottagers start coming up to our little village, in the warmer weather as well.
Well, you would probably need a bike repair shop. You might be able to convert that into renting out skis and toboggans and that kind of thing in the wintertime. And why couldn't you do that from your community center? Of course you could.
Yep, I might have to put you in touch with our local Lions group, Deb, and then get them up to speed on all these cool plans. So I like that. I like that a lot, and that answered my question perfectly. This part is brought to you by someone awesome. We'll be back with more questions in a sec.
Hi, I'm Dawn Brody, a comedian with a history degree and the host of the podcast HILF, History I'd Like to F***. Talk. Each episode, I am joined by a new guest who has brought me a subject from history that they want to know more about. Then I hit the books, I dig deep in the annals, and stimulate. We've covered Frankenstein, Houdini, Joan of Arc, Pompeii, the Salem witch trials, right? Join us and find out for yourself that history is a party and everybody's coming.
So speaking of questions, let's have a look at question number 4. Who is the most famous person you have met?
Oh, good Lord. Met and talked to, or just met?
Both if you wish, or either or. Up to you. Your question.
Gosh, I don't pay attention to famous people, frankly. I'm stuck. I'm never stuck. I'm trying to think of the director. I met a film director whoever it was that directed JFK was the movie he was working on at the time. We went to a rave in Chicago, sitting at the bar. And at the time, I liked tequila. So I was drinking tequila. And before you drink it, you got to throw your salt over your shoulder first, right? And then you put it on your hand. So I'm sitting facing my husband. And we're drinking shots of tequila, and I'm throwing salt over my shoulder. The director was sitting next to me. He never said a word because he knew I was throwing salt on him over my shoulder. He finally turned around and said, "Hey, I'm so-and-so. Nice to meet you." And I'm like, "Oh, my God, I covered you in salt." And he just laughed. And then I turned back around because it was totally embarrassed. That's a fun story. I tend to have those.
And that was, so JFK, I think JFK, was that Oliver Stone?
That's it. It's Oliver Stone. Yep.
So you're throwing salt on Oliver Stone?
I was throwing salt on Oliver Stone at 3:00 in the morning in a rave bar.
That is amazing. So there's so many questions there. So many
I know,
questions.
right?
Like, A, what were you doing in a rave bar? B, what was Oliver Stone doing in a rave bar? And then I love the fact that he didn't react negatively. Because I guess when you've got that position of power and, you're not used to people just being normal around you. I don't know. But I love the fact that he didn't react. He just says, "Hey, it's all good. It's all good. It's 3:00. We're in a rave bar. We're having fun."
Yeah, he could have been a real, God, I can't say that word, a real asshole about it. There we go. That's as close as I'll get to swearing today. But he wasn't. But who knows? He might have been a little tipsy himself, right? At 3:00 in the morning in a rave bar.
Well, yeah, so now I'm curious if he's ever, I'll have to go through all his back catalogue from JFK onwards and see if there's any little tidbits there that say, sort of a throwback to that time, when I got salt thrown over. But that's amazing. Like, not everybody's got a story like that. That's kind of cool. So what did your husband think? Did he say anything? Did you guys recognize Oliver Stone, or was it just after?
Yeah, once he turned around, we knew who he was. Kevin didn't care. I'm sure he was giggling inside, watching me do it every single time, waiting for the guy to turn around and turn into a madman, right? And that didn't happen. And my husband was as excited as I was to be in the realm of this famous person, right? And we never talked to him. That was an opportunity where I could have had a great conversation, and I didn't do it. And normally I'm pretty good about talking to anybody about anything. So I kind of feel it's not a good story because I didn't do what I normally do and talk to him.
Though I guess it could have been a bit different. I mean, I'm going to assume there was loud music with it being a rave. So the music, I've only been to one rave many, many years ago, and it's very loud. I could only assume that it was loud.
Well, it was a private party, and we were invited by a friend. My husband sold cars and had some pretty famous customers. And we were invited by the owner of the car dealership. So it was it was louder music, of course, but not traditional rave music. It wasn't house music. So, and you really, you were there to drink and dance, which we did both.
Yeah. So in that respect, mission accomplished. But yeah, I would have loved to have heard, what possible conversation may have happened then at 3:00 in the morning, a few tequilas down with Oliver Stone.
Could have been interesting.
It's, well, if this show ever takes off superstar internationally, I will try get him on and I will ask him that question. Hey, do you remember that time way back when you were doing GFK?
Yep. I doubt if he does, but who knows, right?
We'll get his version of the story. But I like that. That's definitely a famous person story I've never heard before, obviously, for obvious reasons. So I like that a lot, Deb. I will keep that in mind if ever in a bar myself at that time of night and wondering who's behind me. But we're doing well here. We're reaching the end of the road almost for your time in the question, the random question hot seat. So let's have a look and see what question number 5 is. I'm going to skip this one because we just had a drink question. It was going to be.
Let me answer it.
Okay, you know what? Let's go. Let's answer it then. That's fine. Question number 5, Deb. What is your favorite drink?
I don't know if this is my favorite, but it's one I've always liked. And I learned about it in a little Greek island called Paros in the Cyclades area. So tequila, normally you drink it and follow it with lime and salt. And the bartender in this little tiny island looks at me and he says, do you want to learn how to drink tequila the right way? And at the time, I was a bartender in Chicago, and I'm thinking I'm hot shit, right? That I should know how to do it the right way. Well, I learned in that environment how to do it the right way. So you take your tequila and you take a slice of orange and you put cinnamon on it. Drink your shot, bite into the orange and cinnamon. It's like a Jolly Rancher, like you've taken a bite out of a Jolly Rancher piece of candy. So now you have to go home and try that.
Well, I do because, like yourself, I guess, prior to telling that just now, I'd always believed it was like slice of lemon and the salt, right? So you took was it the salt and then the lemon? I can't remember the order.
Yeah, salt first. Lick it off and then bite into the lime. Yeah.
But orange and cinnamon, yeah, because I would far prefer orange to lemon any day of the week, every day of the week. Cinnamon, I do like cinnamon. So that'd be an interesting experience. But I'm guessing the tequila's got to be nice too, because you can get really harsh tequila. Yeah,
no white tequila. It cannot be a white tequila. Generally, that's your bar tequila, your low-level tequila. But, Jose Cuervo, Patron, those kind of tequilas.
Okay, so you get the tequila, obviously. You've got just a slice of orange, and then you just put what is it, like a sprinkling? Or is that a set?
Yeah, just a little sprinkle on it. You can take a pinch and put on it.
And then you take the tequila,
drink
first,
the shot,
and the fruit.
Bite into the orange piece.
Okay, and this gentleman that taught you how to do it in the Greek island, what's his background? Was he in the industry? Does he make tequila? What's his background?
He was just a bartender it wasn't even the owner of the bar, because I had asked to meet the owner because I was in the industry. Just a guy that bartended there, lived on the island. He was a local, which is important to note because a lot of tourists in small Greek islands, right? And just was a great conversationalist, and we just had a really good time with him. I have no idea what he did during the day, but at night he bartended.
And he passed out wisdom about how to drink tequila, which is obviously awesome.
And funny thing, the reason I'm remembering this, I was coming back from New York, and my seatmate is one of the, what's the word I'm looking for, higher ups at Jose Cuervo Company. And I can't give out his name or position, but I was sharing that story with him, and he was on his way to Cape Town. And he said, I can't wait to land because I'm going to have to try it. So I'm waiting to hear back to see if he's tried it yet.
That's like the ultimate validation of the method, right?
Yeah.
So when you get the high ups of like a world famous tequila, distiller.
Company, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's when it'd be really bad. Not bad. It'd be disappointing, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong word. If he comes back and says, no, that was awful. Don't even
he won't
contact
say
me
that.
again.
See, I promise he won't say that. So I no longer drink, but if you do have that opportunity, I encourage you to try it. Not to get drunk, but to try something different.
Yeah, I will try that on New Year's Eve. That tends to be the only time that I'll sort of have spirits is New Year's Eve.
There you go.
So I'll try that. I'll raise a glass to your honor, and I will let you know probably a few days after how it went. But yeah, I will definitely try that. You know how to
catch me, cuz. Yeah.
Exactly. So Deb, as mentioned, appreciate your time on the Random Questions Hot Seat and being open with your answers and sharing some really cool, fun stories that I wasn't expecting, obviously. But this is only fair because I've put you in the hot seat for the last 30, 40 minutes or so. It is now time to hand over the question baton to you.
So here's what I want to know from you. What advice would you give new podcasters that live in small towns in communities of under 5,000 people?
Ooh. So, funnily enough, there's a really big movement, I guess, if you want to call it that, for hyper-local podcasting. So most podcasts or many podcasts are all like global. So you go for global audiences and you're trying to, grow your show no matter what country the listener's in. But there's a lot of movement in the last 12 months about hyper local podcasting. So you create a podcast for your community, for your town, for your village, for your school even, you get really niche then, because you've got, almost like a warm audience to start with, because people want to know about. If I started a podcast about where I live now, for example, people might want to know or hear me talking to locals and how they came to live here. Have they always lived here? Or they like me? Did they come afterwards? What was the mindset change if they did have to do that? What's it like surviving in the winter? Because the winters here are brutal. So a lot of things like that. And they're really taking and picking up steam. And that, if you get into that like real niche where it's somewhere that you know well, and it could be a business, could be a village like me. It could be your local athletics community, whatever it looks like, Deb. Like I say, you've already got a warm audience, so that can help you with the growth side. And you've always got topics to talk about because there's always something different happening that you can expand on. So you mentioned some great examples with the empty buildings, for example. So if there were, I mentioned the community hall earlier, if there was things going on in the community hall, can I speak to people that come in and that keep coming back each year to do craft shows and stuff like that? Why do they keep coming back? What's the reason? What do they think of the area? All the kind of stuff like that. So I guess, again, rambling, you just mentioned rambling there, were you on a tangent? I guess it would be go local and really, knuckle down onto the locality of where you are. So if you're a freshman in high school, what was the difference in moving from your comfort zone in elementary school to this new high school that's in a different area, different kids and all that? So there's a whole bunch of things like that. I would say use the locality and use the people and use their stories to build your own awareness and get local news, people, local businesses to be part of that, to share why they invest in that village, why they invest in that town, that kind of thing. So I guess that would probably be where I'd maybe go for a local podcaster on a small town or village.
So, and I want to know, where can I tell my clients to learn more about you and to follow your podcast?
Oh, well, now you're getting me to promote myself, and it's not meant to be like that way, Deb.
But I want to know.
But for me, it's simple. I created a really a straightforward custom URL. It's dannypod.com, DANNYPOD.com. And it's got all the cool stuff there. But that was a sneaky one that you got in there because I'm going to, I'm going to hold you to that as you sneaky bugger. But yeah, great question. I love it. I always love talking podcasts anyway, and I love the fact that you kept it local, which is great, which I'm not surprised about, knowing you and your passion. So speaking of passion, Deb, I really enjoyed having you in the 5 Random Questions hot seat. Now it's my turn to get you to promote yourself. So for people that want to know more about what you do and how you do it, for maybe their own, small towns, etc., to find out more about your book or just connect with you, where's the best place to connect, follow you, buy the book, etc.?
A couple of places. The first place is at saveyour.town. So it's SAVEYOUR.TOWN, not .com, .town. And if you put a slash in the word sign up behind that, you can sign up for a free email that we send out every week that talks about rural challenges and different ways to address them. My speaker site, and where there's more info on my book, is buildingpossibility.com. Exactly like it sounds, buildingpossibility.com. My email, Deb@savior.town. please shoot me an email. I like talking to people.
Unless they're in a tequila bar at 3:00 in the morning. When you just ignore them and just throw salt on them instead. But that's awesome. I will be sure to leave the links to those in the show notes as always. So whatever app you're listening to this episode on, or if you're listening to it on the website, just check out the show notes as usual. And the links will be there for both Deb's speaking and Deb's community site as well, the small business site. So I get small towns, not small business. My bad. We almost got through without a fluff and I had to mess it up right at the end there. So again, Deb, I really appreciate coming on 5 random questions today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to 5 Random Questions. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to leave a review on the app you're currently listening on or over at 5randomquestions.com/review. And if you know someone else that would enjoy the show, be sure to send them this way. It's very much appreciated. Until the next time, keep asking those questions.